Hey guys, in this video we're going to give you 10 reasons why we are part-time and not full-time campers. And maybe we'll tell you if we'll ever consider being a full-timer or not. Come join the discussion with us. Hey guys, this is Jared and Val. We're going to give you 10-ish reasons, because some of these reasons run together, on why we part-time and not full-time camp.
So, as we all know, many people had taken the time of COVID into time of reflection of how they wanted their lifestyles to be, and a lot of people chose to take the full-time route, which was cool and exciting and neat to see. We never did that, and there's a lot of reasons for that, why we choose to continually RV part-time, and we'll cover some of those things. But as we now have maybe seen in a lot of different full-timers stories, a lot of those full-timers are currently coming off the road. That's due to many different reasons, the economy, housing market, a lot of things changing. But we just wanted to share our perspective. Hopefully it's helpful to you in some way on why we choose to part-time RV and not take the full-time route. Go ahead, Jarrett. The biggest reason why we don't full-time.
Number one, our jobs just don't let us.
Yeah.
We're both in real estate. I'm an appraiser, Valerie's a realtor. And unfortunately, that requires us to be physically present at a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we kind of have to be here.
And so, that's a big one for us. We got to be able to make a living, and
our jobs don't necessarily allow us to be remote all the time.
They're flexible,
Yeah.
but it's not like I still have to physically go to houses, and so does Valerie. So that's really the big one.
Yeah.
And so if we had a different job, maybe things would be different. But that's the cards we got. So
that's what we deal with. The second reason is we have teenagers. We have teenagers and grown adults as children. We have 5 children, 3 boys, 2 girls. Let's be real. Teens need space. Period. End of story. They have big bodies and they like to go to their own separate rooms. That's a big reason. Our stage of life does not necessarily allow for full-time living with 3 teenagers still at home in a 30 to 40 foot space. It's just not realistic for us currently.
And honestly, so we, of the 5 kids we got, we're really down to 2 camping with us most of the time.
Right.
And those are teenage daughters. And doing anything with teenage daughters is difficult. So, there's really not much else to say about that. So
I mean, it's just, I'm sure that this would be easier with smaller children, elementary age, where they can make friends easily. But with teenagers, life's a little bit stickier.
There's just more to contend with teenagers.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they probably have more of an established friend group. They're also dabbling in, getting their first jobs and things like that. So it just isn't reasonable for us right now. And that is a big reason why we're not full-timers right now. Number 3 is a place to call home. I personally like to have a house. I don't plan on selling our home base. I like to have a bigger kitchen, a place to come home to and escape the RV life. And that's a huge reason why we don't want to go full-time. I like to have a home.
It's amazing when we go out on a trip, and a week trip or 10-day trip or whatever we end up doing, the longer trips, and you come back to your house and you're like, holy cow, this place is big.
And escape to your rooms and
everybody
have
disappears.
your downtime. Yes. And so while we like to have that family time where we're closer together and don't really have a choice but to be close together, we like to separate as well. And so, again,
having a home base is pretty awesome. So
another reason we like part-timing is we really like to change up our location. We really like to take different adventures and try new places. For a lot of years when our babies were little, we would vacation at the Gulf over and over, same vacation every year after year. And it just seemed like once we started venturing out to other places, that desire became stronger to want to see more of the country and go further. And so in saying that, we had considered what it might be like to get a condo or a beach house, but we just could not decide on a location.
Well, you know, even when you're full time, you tend to be more stationary. And so you're not moving, and so it's not like you get to go somewhere new
All the time.
Right. So weekly, we tend to stay place for a week at a time, and then when you're full time, just because of the expense and then everything you got to contend with on top of that.
And dealing with real life too. You tend to have to stay in a location for longer periods of time as a full timer.
And so with us part timing, we're able to move around, and we've well, I mean, if you watched our St. George video, you've seen us. We've mulliganed in the middle of a trip, so we're not somewhere we like to be.
Pick up and move.
Yeah, and so as a full timer, that you can still do that. You can still move as much as you want to and as much as you can afford to, but there's still an expense that you've got to contend with there. And the more you move, the more fuel you burn and reservations, and it's all more of an expense, more so than what we're willing to take on right now.
Yeah, so number 5 goes hand in hand with that, is that we have a vacation club we use, and so we are able to flex a little in our getaways and our vacations and choose different locations and change it up.
We like camping, but there's times when we're ready for a vacation where we don't want to camp.
Right.
Because, let's be honest, if you're in the RV world now, or if you're looking at getting in the RV, as much fun as camping is, and it's a blast, and we love doing it, it's a lot of work.
And sometimes we want a break from that and want the resort vacation.
Right. And so, when we have the Marriott Vacation Club, and it's kind of like, we joke and say, staying at Marriott, it's like staying at KOA. You always kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
And it's nice to roll in after a long day and grab a drink at the hotel bar and just, take a hot shower and not have to worry about a tank.
True. Yeah. So the vacation club kind of allows us to, as part-time travelers, mix it up more so than if we were full-time. And it allows us to go to other destinations other than just campsites and RVing destinations.
So number 6 is when you camp, stuff breaks. When you're in a, and it doesn't matter what kind of camper you're in, you're going to have stuff to fix. And if you're lucky, it's minor. Most of the time it's minor. Sometimes it's not so minor, and then that's the thing you got to contend with.
It throws a wrench in your plans.
If you've seen our video where our dash went out, that was a 3-day fix. And those guys are great, but if they had your camper and you're full time for 3 days,
you got to find somewhere else to go. Airbnb, a hotel.
Or Georgetown, we lost the shifter cable for the transmission, which was a really interesting experience. That was a 3-month fix. And, it might have been the Ford dealer that it was at. But, if you were out of your home for 90 days, that would be really inconvenient.
Yeah. Maintaining a camper or an RV is a lot of work. And doing that full time is just not something we want to deal with at that level.
If it was me and Valerie and it wasn't us and the girls camping, or it would be a little more simple, maybe we would contend with that. But I mean, even so, when you look at like tanks and keeping up with your levels and how much water you got in what tank, and keep making sure things are flushed out, and
it's just something that I think would get old for me and you, and that's not to say it gets old for everyone. Just you and I. That's not something we want to contend with full time.
There's nobody that camps that loves dealing with their black tank.
Number 7 kind of goes in hand with number 6, just maintaining everything, and basically, when something does go wrong, it can throw a wrench into your upcoming reservations. And then you've got to rebook all that and figure it out and find a place to stay. And again, for us, that's just not reasonable with the season of life we're in right now.
And honestly, with reservations, depending on what you're in, the bigger the camper you're in, the harder they are to get. And so if you're living in it and you're booked out and you've got a 6-month plan, if you will, and it gets screwed up because of a repair, I mean, you could be boondocking a whole lot more than you want to be, because getting in places is pretty tough.
Yeah, it can be if you have a big RV. Number 8 is really the cost. Some people think the cost of going full-time RVing is a lot cheaper than, owning a home and doing things the traditional way. That's not always the case. I mean, everybody does things differently, of course. But there's a ton of expenses that sometimes you just may not consider.
Right. If you own a home and, you look at, if you look at investment point, a home is an appreciating asset on the investment part, where a camper is a depreciating asset. And so camping is a lifestyle choice that you make. It's not really an investment choice that you make. Well, it is an investment.
Yeah.
But having a home,
a different kind of investment.
right? Having a home, at least you're gaining some equity there. And camping is expensive. I mean, when you look at like we have a diesel pusher and fuel's $5.50 a gallon.
Right.
I got a 100-gallon tank, and so granted I don't run it completely empty, but it's normally a 75 gallon stop every time I get fuel, and it doesn't go very far. It's not like you think it would. And you start adding those expenses up, breakdowns, tires, maintenance, it all adds up real quick.
And that's probably a big reason a lot of people are trying to come off the road currently. These things are adding up and getting more expensive, and that's okay. Life throws curveballs, and sometimes you gotta reroute the plan. But for us, that's just not something we wanted to have interrupt our flow, because there can be a lot of interruptions when you're talking about changes in economy and housing market, and gas prices, and it changing your situation altogether. We definitely want to be in a place where we maybe have an asset that if life happened, we could sell and have some kind of equity. And that's important to us and why we choose to keep a home base. Number 9, reason why we don't want a full-time. We want to continue enjoy. We want to continue enjoying camping and RVing.
Camping is not like you put your jacks down and you put your feet up and you're done. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and there's a lot of stuff to keep up with. And if you're full-time doing that, and if you're doing it full-time, it could be a deal where you're like, holy cow, this is a lot of work. And we just want to...
We don't want to hate it.
Yeah.
We want to take breaks, and part-timing allows you to leave the RV, put it aside, put it in its timeout room, and go home and recoup back to your spaces. And then that's what's kept us, I think, continuing to love the journey and getting back in the camper and going, because we've been doing this for about 9 years now. And we've said this, that ever since our kids were little, we've been taking them camping. And I think had we had started doing that full time then, we probably would not be doing it now.
We'd probably be divorced. But no, and it's a lot, and it's a lot to keep up with, and it's a lot to do. And and as you camp, not all, especially if you guys have been camping very long, it's not all camping trips are great.
No.
Some of them are pretty rough.
Yeah, so real life takes place, and we want it to still feel like a getaway and a vacation, and not like, it's just good to take a break.
And it's good to have a place to go when you're mad at your camper, because let's be honest, like there's,
or when you're mad at your spouse.
But it's just like that when things don't go well, or you're broke down, or like Valerie said, we can put the camper in timeout. And there's times that like we get out of it, and we're not getting back in that thing for and then a couple weeks ago I'm like,
ready to go camping again?
Yeah, and so then you get back in like, oh, okay, now I remember why I like this.
The last reason why we like to part-time instead of full-time is, again, we want it to feel like a getaway and a vacation. And when you part-time, you are able to kind of take more getaways in 1 year than maybe normal.
But it also kind of gives you that excitement of something to look forward to when you get to go camping. Like, all right, we're going camping this weekend. We haven't camped in 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to be fun. You kind of get excited about it. And that could be a deal where like we're just going up the street to the local campground, and we're just kind of doing it's not a big to do weekend, but it's still just a change of pace. It makes you shift gears, and you look forward to it. And so and if you're full time, you don't have that break of a sense of like not every day's a vacation.
I mean, you might, but I don't see that you and I would feel that way.
No. So the question is, and the conversation that Valerie and I have had for years is, would we ever go full time?
We have talked about this off and on over the years many times.
And I don't know. I think I would say like most of the time, like where we were gone for like 6 or 8 months out of the year, I could see us doing something like that, or being like the
Or,
snowbirds.
yeah, or 2 or 3 months out of the year. I don't think that, I don't know that you and I will ever really like live on the road, for 2 or 3 or 5 years.
Well, I say, and honestly, when I say like 6 to 8 months on the road, I mean, I could see us going out for a month or two, coming home for
right
3 or 4 weeks, and going back out for a month or two. Then you know what I mean?
Yeah, if we get to that point, and your job maybe allows you to do that, go a little more remote, then sure, we would probably stay gone longer. We would part-time longer. But full-time, I just don't think it's in the cards for us. Like we say, we like to have a home base. Now, I will say that I would do it full-time if we could have a place like what they're offering in a town called LaBelle, Florida, where they build those condos.
Or Heritage.
Yeah, or where you purchase like a condo, not necessarily a tiny house or a little cottage, but something a little larger.
Yeah, they have like washer and dryers and kitchens and full size,
like a small house, but also with the RV pad and the ability to come and go, and it is kind of in like an RV community.
That would be
ideal when our kids graduate and go on.
Like they're gone for real, not like they go and they come back. Like, gone for real. So guys, that's our 10-ish reasons. This is a conversation that we could sit here and talk about on the camera all day long. But that's kind of like the big points for us on why we personally don't full-time. We know there's a lot of people that do full-time, and that's awesome. A little bit envious of you at times, and sometimes when I go camping and we have a crappy camping trip, and I'm not so envious of you at all.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to both of it, and this is basically just a conversation of why we really have never chosen to go on the road full-time. These are just realistic reasons for us and our season of life. That's not to say that they're not for you, but maybe this conversation is somewhat helpful.
Well, I really appreciate you spending your time watching our video. Hopefully it was helpful, and if you have any comments, let us know. We'll get back to you as soon as we can, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
See you guys later.